Our top story at this hour, in a move that is set to give air travellers more flexibility, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, or DGCA, has proposed new rules for airline ticket refunds. Under the draft guidelines, passengers will be allowed to cancel or amend their tickets within 48 hours of booking without any additional charges. The move also mandates faster refunds, which airlines must proceed within 21 working days. The DGCA has clarified that even if a ticket is purchased through a travel agent or an online portal, the responsibility for refund will rest with the airline as agents act as their representatives. Now, officials say that these changes, if implemented, could be a major relief for frequent flyers, making air travel more convenient and making it more convenient for passengers and making it passenger-friendly going forward. That's the big update coming as far as the DGCA proposing a significant change in ticket refund norms is concerned. Joining me on the show is Kartik Malhotra, my colleague from the newsroom. Also with us is Captain Akshay Chopra. He's an aviation expert. Kartik, coming to you first. This is likely to bring a lot of cheers to people who frequently fly.
But let's not cheer a little too quickly, because let's remember at this point it is just a consultation paper, it's a proposal and no confirmation on whether it's going to go through or not. So that consultation process is going to be open till November 30th, and post which perhaps there could be some sort of an amendment which could come into act, and that is going to give the much needed relief to flyers. But Shweta, also important to note at this point that this 48-hour window for making changes or even cancelling your ticket free of charge comes with a few caveats. The first caveat being that if you're flying domestic and if your flight is scheduled within 5 days from the date of booking, then this 48-hour window is not applicable to you. Conversely, if you're flying international and if you're likely to fly within 15 days after booking your ticket, then again this 48-hour window does not hold true. So this 48-hour comes with these two caveats that A, for domestic flights, your travel date must be more than 5 days away from your date of booking, and number two, it must, for international, it must be more than 15 days away. So that is number one. Add to that, is 48 hours enough? So I think, the bigger question really is that while it is a step in the right direction, the question really is that if you intend to fly, let's say even a month from now, if you've made the booking today, is 48 hours enough? So I think there should be some concession on cancellation charges even beyond that 48-hour window, because not too many cases, I can speak at least anecdotally, would a person change his or her mind and actually cancel the ticket just 48 hours after booking it. Perhaps your plans change as you approach closer to your flying date. So I think while it may be a step in the right direction, there needs to be a lot more sort of flexibility given to consumers, because there are cases where sometimes you book a ticket and in case your itinerary changes, then you're better off just being a no-show on that flight than paying for cancellation charges and paying for the fare difference as it arises closer to your travel date. So I think a lot of more areas of reforms required as far as passenger flexibility is concerned.
All right. Captain Chopra, I think an important clarification that Kartik also made is that these are draft rules. These are out for stakeholder consultation, which means that there could be some amendments going forward if, let's say, stakeholders, by the way of airlines, do not necessarily agree. Now, airlines which already operate on wafer-thin margins are going to find it hard if there are a lot of cancellations coming in, even after 48 hours of booking.
First of all, Shweta, thank you for having me. Now, though these are draft rules and we expect many such amendments to come in the future, because according to CARA, the civil aviation requirements, which are regulations which govern the civil aviation in India under DGCA, many such amendments keep on coming. And one of the reasons this amendment also came was because there are already a lot of international airlines operating on the same rules and regulations, following similar procedures. So even DGCA had to eventually, get into amendments of such kind. But as such rules come in India, the main problem is implementation, because as the final, this is just a draft, and as the final rules will come in, there are a lot of challenges which come into play, because civil aviation and then, the legal system is not that strong that such things are implemented very strongly. What is important is, let's say today I book a flight and such rules are in place and I do not get my refund. Now, what are the penalties on the airlines if they're not able to refund within 21 days? Because there are also clauses here that in case the airline is not able to refund, they're not able to refund, then in that case, they can cite the particular causes or the reasons for that. They have those liberties. So whether it should be allowed or not is something to be thought of.
All right. Karthik, an important clarification that I thought is going to be interesting to look out for is who's really responsible for the refunds. Because many a times, there's a constant battle between you calling the airline and then you also calling the third party, which is by the way of the mediator or the booking online platform that you've booked your tickets through. So I think that clarification is also important as to who's the final responsibility for refund.
Yeah, so I think, the draft paper actually puts that very challenge in focus and says that come what may, whether you're booking it directly through the airline or you're booking it through an intermediary, offline or online, be it any of the travel portals or a travel agent, then the end responsibility of those refunds to hit back into the accounts of the consumer lies with the airline. So I think that clarity is there at least in the draft circular. But I think, again, just to digress a little, while these changes and while these reforms are more than welcome, the challenge with India really is that the competitive landscape in aviation is fairly thin.
Absolutely.
So you have an Indigo which is commanding a lion's share of the market, followed by the Air India combined, which is Air India Express, as well as Vistara, which has now folded into Air India. I think the challenge really is that between the balanced two players, SpiceJet and Akasa, the market share is limited, to a very, very small number. So basically, you don't have enough competition in the airlines, and that is why, as consumers, you end up paying for everything from a bottle of water to selecting your seat even during web check-in and paying for that every 100 grams of extra baggage that you want to check in. So I think at some point the aviation sector is ripe for more competition. But like you pointed out, because except for Indigo, the margins are wafer thin, the aviation business, despite seeing record number of flyers, does not seem like a very lucrative business for international airlines to consider setting up shop in India. And then, of course, there are other challenges of dependence on MROs and engine overhauls, etc., and maintenance. And add to that all the challenges that Boeing is facing and aircraft orders still pending, yet to be delivered. So overall, I think a lot more is required by way of reforms, not just for safety, but also for passenger flexibility and, of course, giving them that much required relief on the wallet.
Absolutely. It's a market conundrum, Captain Chopra. It's a market which is fast expanding, also a market where players find it very hard to make enough and more revenues. We are now looking at, Air India also is in news at this point, where Tata is also seeking some sort of relief from its parent company when it comes to its own, operating margins. In a market like this, it's a conundrum whether passengers and, their interest should be kept at the heart, or should the market be protected with limited number of pairs. At this point, DGCA has in the past also come up with a lot of regulations where on some important routes it wanted to cap the pricing. Even that recommendation did not really go forward in a way that we still have very exorbitant prices that we pay on some very frequently flight routes. I want to understand from you, how do you come out of this market conundrum? Market needs more players at the moment, but at the same time, not many players who have been able to sustain in the past.
So Shweta, these challenges DGCA has been facing since a very long time. And even if you look at the current draft, they're given very specific information that whether the refunds will happen quickly depends on the agent, if the agents will cooperate, whether the systems are updated, or there is any other problem. Such excuses can be given very easily by the airlines. Now, when it comes to, if you remember during Operation Sindoor, the worst thing which happened was where all the airlines could have taken the most humanitarian route and helped people get out of Srinagar. They started charging tickets as high as 65,000 plus, and the government had to intervene. So this is where the rules have to be strictly implemented in all the cases. Yes, you're right. There are problems of major players like Indigo operating, and then it depends on the balance which the DGCA creates. That's why it takes time. That's why when the rules are drafted, it takes a couple of months to implement, and all the consultations are done with all the civil aviations and all. But at the end of the day, in India, the main problem which comes is implementation. It's
Right.
not just the rules. At the end of the day, if tomorrow, let's say, I book a ticket and I had to cancel the ticket within 48 hours, there can be number of excuses and airlines can give that, okay, the system is not updated or there's a problem in the system. That is where the DGCA has to take strict actions, whether the implementation is done in the right manner or not.
All right.